Never apologize for coming to me. Office hours are for patients. My kitchen is always open to friends. Onset of sleepwalking in adulthood is less common than in children.
Yeah, could it be a seizure?
I'd argue good old-fashioned post-traumatic stress. Jack Crawford has gotten your hands very dirty.
Wasn't forced back into the field.
I wouldn't say forced. Manipulated would be the word I'd choose.
I can handle it.
Somewhere between denying horrible events and calling them out lies the truth of psychological trauma.
So I can't handle it.
Your experience may have overwhelmed ordinary functions that give you a sense of control.
If my body is walking around without my permission, you'd say that's a loss of control.
Wouldn't you? Sleepwalkers demonstrate a difficulty handling aggression. Are you experiencing difficulty with aggressive feelings?
You said Jack sees me as fine china used for special guests. Beginning to feel more like an old mug.
You entered into a devil's bargain with Jack Crawford. It takes a toll.
No, Jack isn't the devil.
When it comes to how far he's willing to push you to get what he wants, he's certainly no saint.
Room was registered to a John Smith. Big surprise there.
An appalling failure of imagination.
They paid cash. There are no security cameras on the premises. Another big surprise.
John Smith, one of the victims?
Mr. and Mrs. Anderson, according to the register. They were mutilated and displayed. I thought it might be the Chesapeake Ripper, but there were no surgical trophies taken. I'm gonna need you to prepare yourself on this one.
I'm prepared.
Yeah, prepare yourself some more. It's soup in there.
Soup isn't good for the soul.
Not this time. All right, look, there are no jurisdictional rivalries here. The local police begged us to take this. Where's your head?
It's on my pillow. I didn't sleep.
Got just the thing to wake you up. Hooks were bored into the ceiling. Fishing line was used to hold up the bodies and the wings.
At least we know he's a fisherman.
And/or a Viking.
Vikings do this?
Vikings used to execute Christians by breaking their ribs, bending them back, and draping the lungs over them to resemble wings. They used to call it a blood eagle.
And pagans mocking the God-fearing?
And who's mocking who?
No, he isn't mocking them. He's transforming them.
I don't know if it was a good night's sleep, but he slept here. Hair on the pillow, and the sheets are still damp. He's a sweater.
Madness slept here last night.
He threw up in the nightstand.
Couldn't stomach what he did. Flop sweat and nervous indigestion.
Not nervous. Righteous. He thinks he's elevating them somehow. I need a plastic sheet for the bed. This is not who you are. This is my gift to you. I allow you to become an angel. And now, I lay me down to sleep.
A masterpiece foie gras au torchon with a late harvest of Vidal sauce with dried and fresh figs.
Wonderful.
Mrs. Crawford, your husband introduced you as Bella. Are you an Isabel or an Annabelle?
I'm a Phyllis. Jack only calls me Phyllis when we disagree.
So, named Bella for your beauty.
We were both stationed in Italy. I was Army. She was NATO staff. All of the Italian men kept calling her Bella, Bella, Bella. Well, I wanted her to be my Bella. Cold foie gras with warm figs.
Yes.
Very nice.
Would I be a horrible guest if I skipped this course?
Too rich.
Too cruel.
Phyllis.
Jack.
First and worst sign of sociopathic behavior. Cruelty to animals.
That doesn't apply in the kitchen?
I have no taste for animal cruelty, which is why I employ an ethical butcher.
An ethical butcher. Be kind to animals and then eat them.
I'm afraid I insist on it. No need for unnecessary suffering. Human emotions are gifts from our animal ancestors. Cruelty is a gift humanity has given itself.
A gift that keeps on giving.
Your perfume is exquisite. Similar to the aroma on the air just after lightning strikes. Is it Jar?
That is some nose you have there, Doctor.
He really is quite charming, isn't he?
I first noticed my keen sense of smell when I was a young man. I was aware one of my teachers had stomach cancer even before he was.
Wow, that must have been some parlor trick.
For our next course, roasted pork shank. And I assure you, Bella, it was an especially supercilious pig.
Death makes angels of us all and gives us wings where we had shoulders, smooth as raven's claws.
Robert Frost.
Jim Morrison.
Even a drunk with the flair for the dramatic can convince himself he's God or the Lizard King.
God makes angels. Jesus was fond of fishermen. We're talking hardcore Judeo-Christian upsetting or just upsetting in general?
This is a very specific upsetting.
Increased serotonin in the wounds is much higher than the free histamine, so she lived for about 15 minutes after she was skinned.
Powder residue in the neck of the soda bottle shows vecuronium, scotch and soda, and a paralytic agent.
Kneeling in supplication at the feet of G-D.
Supplication is the most common form of prayer. Gimme, gimme, gimme.
They weren't praying to him. They were praying for him. He's afraid.
What is somebody who could do something like this afraid of?
It's in his vomit.
Dexamethasone,
That's used for patients with tumors.
Capra,
He was epileptic. Radiation?
Gamma-4.
Steroids for the inflammation, anticonvulsants for the seizures, radiation for the chemotherapy. Our guy has a brain tumor.
He's afraid of dying in his sleep. He's making angels to watch over him.
Mrs. Crawford? Please come in. How often do you see him?
Twice a week at first. Now usually just once.
You're satisfied then?
Enough to keep seeing him.
Your intention is not to tell Jack.
I don't see what good it would do. Jack sees the world at its worst. Don't need him seeing me at mine. He already has too much to worry about.
He has room for one more worry. I feel like you're protecting him.
I am. I've had dinner at your home. You have a professional relationship with my husband. There's no conflict of interest, me being here?
It's unorthodox, but not unheard of. Given the nature of your problem, seeing someone who knows Jack removes some of the guesswork.
This all started as some misguided stab at maintaining my dignity.
Nothing undignified about this.
Not yet. But I have indignity to look forward to, don't I?
The only indignity I see is resentment. Why do you resent your husband?
I resent that Jack has too much to worry about. To worry about me.
But that's your choice, not his.
And maybe you should see us both for couples counseling.
I would recommend another psychiatrist for couples. I wouldn't want you to have the home couch advantage.
It's hard enough dealing with how I feel about all of this. Don't need to deal with how Jack feels about it.
There is no one and only spiritual center of the brain. Any idea of God comes from many different areas of the mind, working together in unison.
Maybe I was wrong. How do you profile someone who has an anomaly in their head changing the way they think?
But humor can definitely affect brain function, even cause vivid hallucinations. However, what appears to be driving your angel maker to create heaven on earth is a simple issue of mortality.
You can't beat God, become him.
You said he was afraid.
He feels abandoned.
You ever feel abandoned, Will?
Abandonment requires expectation.
What were your expectations of Jack Crawford and the FBI?
Jack hasn't abandoned me.
Not in any discernible way, perhaps in the way gods abandon their creations. You say he hasn't abandoned you, but at the same time you find yourself wandering around Wolf Trap in the middle of the night.
Wow. This should be interesting. Please, Doctor, proceed.
Jack gave you his word he would protect your headspace. Yet he leaves you to your mental devices.
You trying to alienate me from Jack Crawford?
I'm trying to help you to understand this angel maker you seek.
Well, help me understand how to catch him.
If he were a classic paranoid schizophrenic, you might be able to influence him to become visible.
Want to scare him out into the daylight?
Might even get him to hurt himself, if he hasn't already.
If he were self-destructive, he wouldn't be so careful.
Unless he's careful about being self-destructive. Making angels to pray over him when he sleeps. Who prays over us when we sleep?
So do you wait until you think I'm asleep before you come to bed?
It's not intentional. I'm working late. Nothing personal.
So can we have a conversation, or you want to pretend that everything's all right?
Everything is all right.
So no conversation.
I'm a bit overwhelmed at the moment
With?
with things at work, etc. Got some things I have to sort through. It's outside your jurisdiction, Jack.
You know something? I'm very good at sorting things out. And at the very least, I can underwhelm you while you're being overwhelmed.
You've never been able to underwhelm me.
Is there anything I can offer you romantically or physically or spiritually that'll help?
Nope.
So as your husband, what I can do for you is leave you alone and not ask you any questions.
You can ask me anything you want to.
I won't insult you by asking you if there's someone else.
Thank you.
You'll sort out whatever it is you have to sort out. We'll get back to being us. I love you, Bella.
I love you too.
Why angels?
That isn't biblical, because angels have wings. Angels in sculptures and paintings can fly, but not in scripture.
He's drawing from secular sources?
His mind is turned against him, and there's no one there to help.
Jack, look at this.
Are those? What are those?
Somebody got to work you out of me real cheap.
Doesn't look like the victim.
So they're the angel makers?
He castrated himself?
So he isn't just making angels, he's getting ready to become one. Angels don't have genitalia.
So he was afraid of dying. Now he's what, getting used to the idea?
He's accepting it, or he's bargaining.
Bargaining chips.
So does this mean that he's done making angels, or is he just getting started?
I don't know.
Well, he's not just killing them when he's sleeping. I mean, how is he choosing them?
I don't know. Ask him.
I'm asking you.
Well, you're the head of the behavioral science unit, Jack. Why don't you come up with your own answers if you don't like mine?
I did not hear that. Did I?
No, you didn't. Sorry.
I've never heard anybody talk to Jack the way you talk to Jack.
I was out of line.
You were out of your mind. My ears rang like the first time I heard my mom use the F word. Are you okay? I know it's a stupid question, considering that none of us could possibly be okay doing what we do, but are you okay?
Do I seem different?
You're a little different, but you've always been a little different. Brilliant strategy. That way no one ever knows if something's up with you.
How would I know if something was up with you?
You wouldn't. But I would tell you if you asked me. Return the favor?
Meet Roger and Marilyn Brunner. You might recognize them from such lists as Most Wanted. He likes to rape and murder. She likes to watch. We got a DNA match. They falsified the motel registry and were driving a stolen car. So it took a second to identify them.
I wonder how long it took Angel Maker to identify them. You didn't choose them randomly.
He knows something about them. The murdered security guard wasn't actually a security guard. He was a convicted felon.
Could Angel Maker be a vigilante?
Well, vigilantes are pragmatic. They're purposeful. They don't lay down and sleep under their crimes. In his mind, he was doing God's work.
That spells vigilante.
Well, playing a god has other advantages. One of them is always being alone.
So he makes angels out of demons.
How does he know they're demons?
Doesn't have to know. All he has to do is believe.
Has Jack begun to suspect? He's a behavioral specialist. He must know you're keeping something from him.
Oh, he knows. He asked me if I was having an affair, by reassuring me that he didn't have to ask.
I doubt he believes you're unfaithful.
And why do you doubt that?
It's clear you love your husband.
Women who love their husbands still find reasons to cheat on them.
Not you. Still, you seem more betrayed by Jack than by your own body.
I don't feel betrayed by Jack. And there's no point in being mad at cancer for being cancer.
Sure there is.
Cancer isn't cruel. Tiny cell wanders off from my liver, gets lost, finds its way into my lung, where it's just trying to do its job and grow a liver.
What it grows and where it's growing it will likely kill you.
Not likely. It will kill me. And no amount of blueberries or antioxidants can change that now.
But you hold Jack accountable for his inability to cure cancer. Should I have said his inability to save you? Would that be more accurate?
I am slowly shrinking while this tiny thing grows larger every day. And yet I feel fine.
You will feel fine. Up until the precise moment you don't.
It's a really very dull story, though, isn't it? The ending is always the same, and that same is that it ends.
So, you withdraw from your relationship with your husband. The man who strolled along the quays of Livorno, Italy, and called you Bella. It's difficult to lie still and fear going to sleep when it's there to think about. You listen to your breathing in the dark and the tiny clicks of your blinking eyes.
I dream more now than I used to.
But your dreams were the one place you could be physically safe. Relinquishing control, not anymore.
Yeah, I thought about zipping myself up into a sleeping bag before I go to sleep, but it sounds like a poor man's straitjacket.
Have you determined how this angel maker is choosing his victims?
He doesn't see people how everyone else sees them. He can tell if you're naughty or nice, or he thinks he can.
So God has given this person insight into the souls of man.
God didn't give him insight. God gave him a tumor. He's just a man who's brain is playing tricks on him.
You're not unlike this killer.
My brain is playing tricks on me?
You want to feel such sweet and easy peace. The angel maker wants that same peace. He hopes to feel his way cautiously inside it and find it's endless all around him.
He's gonna be disappointed.
You accept the impossibility of such a feeling, whereas the angel maker is still chasing it. If he got close to it, that's where he will look for it again.
I've tried to reconstruct his thinking, to find his patterns.
Instead, you find yourself in a behavior pattern you can't break. You realize you have a choice.
What is it?
Angel Maker will be destroyed by what's happening inside his head. You don't have to be.
Did you just smell me?
Difficult to avoid. I really must introduce you to a finer aftershave that smells like something with a ship on the bottle.
Oh, I keep getting it for Christmas.
Have your headaches been any worse lately? More frequent?
Yes, actually.
I changed the aftershave.
Elliot Budish, 35-year-old truck driver. He's got a fishing license, too. Match came from the National Cancer Database. Married, 2 kids. They haven't seen him in 4 months. He was diagnosed 5 months ago.
Meet the angel maker. Have you heard from him since he left?
I left him. And, no, I haven't.
Why did you leave?
Because of his cancer. It makes me sound like a horrible wife.
I'm sure you had your reasons.
I took a leave from work to be with him. I wanted to be there for him. But what he wanted was to be alone. He just kept pulling away and pulling away. He made it clear he didn't want me there. And then it wasn't clear. And then it didn't matter why he was acting the way he was. It was weird for the kids. I mean, what kind of mother exposes her children to someone who's losing their mind?
Was he ever violent, Mrs. Budish?
He was angry. But he never hit me or the boys.
It was hardest on them to see him slip away. He lost himself, and they lost a father.
I thought that as he got weaker, as the cancer got worse, that it would be less confusing for them. That they could just see him a sick man instead of someone who was so terrified.
And did your husband's faith falter after he was told about the cancer?
Elliot wasn't ever religious. Is he doing something religious?
He may believe he is.
Your husband is dying, Mrs. Budish, and soon. We'd like to find him before he hurts himself or anyone else.
He had a near-death experience. He suffocated in a fire when he was a little boy. Fireman said he must have had a guardian angel.
Where did this happen?
The farm where he grew up.
last one.
It's Budish?
He made himself into an angel. It wasn't God, it wasn't man. It was his choice to die.
His choice?
As much as he can make it. I don't know how much longer I can be all that useful to you, Jack.
Really? You caught 3. The last 3 we had, you caught 3 of them.
I didn't catch this one. Elliot Budish surrendered.
You know, I'm used to my wife not talking to me. I don't have to get used to you not talking to me, too.
It's getting harder and harder to make myself look.
No one's asking you to look alone.
But I am looking alone. And you know what looking at this does.
I know what happens if you don't look, and so do you.
I can make myself look, but the thinking is shutting down.
What is it about this one?
It isn't this one, it's all of them. It's the next one, it's the one that I know is coming after that.
You want to go back to your lecture hall? Read about this stuff on tattlecrime.com?
No, I don't. But that may be what I have to do. This is bad for me.
Not your father will. Not going to tell you what you ought to do.
Seems like that's exactly what you're gonna do.
You go back to your classroom, and there's killing going on that you could have prevented. It will sour your classroom forever.
Maybe. Then maybe I find a job as a diesel mechanic in a boatyard.
You want to quit? Quit. Hello, Doctor. My wife and I need to talk. May we use your waiting room?
You can have the office, please.
Thank you.
Just popping in on official business? Or did you follow me?
I called your office. They said you were at an appointment. I figured you'd be here.
You know. I knew you'd find out.
When did you find out?
12 weeks ago.
12 weeks ago?
Lung cancer.
You don't smoke?
The irony.
Is it treatable?
It's stage 4. And we know there's no stage 5, don't we?
When were you going to tell me?
Far enough into the future that I'm really not prepared to have this conversation right now.
Neither am I, but we're having it. We're having it right now. Were you just going to wait until you were in the middle of chemotherapy? When you couldn't hide it anymore?
I don't think I want to do chemotherapy.
Well, do I have any say in this?
No. No, you don't.
you want to be alone? I don't want you to answer that. Just think about your answer. I want you to know that I don't want you to be alone. Not now and not ever.
We'll beat this together.
No, it's your fight, baby, but I'm in your corner. I'm not going anywhere.
I appreciate that, Jack. I do. But I'm not comforted by it. I know that's what you need, and you need to comfort me. But I can't give you what you need.
Don't worry about what I need. Why wouldn't you tell me?
I thought if I kept it to myself, our lives wouldn't change. I didn't count on changing as much as I did.
What do you want, bro?
I'm gonna sit here until you're ready to talk. You don't have to say a word until you're ready, but I'm not going anywhere until you do.
Previously on Hannibal.
I thought it.
習慣無理して自分変えないで勇敢なパンチになって悩めるこいつ打ちだって